Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
This is the second time I'm sharing this experience with anyone besides my partner. First time was a couple years back on this very board. Although the thread was moving so fast, I doubt anyone read it. I know the premise reads like a bad creepypasta and doesn't hold up to the slightest amount of scrutiny. Nevertheless, I am fully convinced I didn't dream or hallucinate this after corroborating the event with my uncle after the fact. If you're capable of suspending your disbelief, I hope you all find the story interesting. It mystifies me to this day. Be me, around 10 or 11, on a vacation to Oak Island, North Carolina with my parents, siblings, grandparents, and uncle. One of the days we're there, we pile into our cars to catch a ride on a ferry off the island. If I recall, the destination was some adjacent island that had an aquarium. My parents and siblings are riding together. Chose to ride with grandparents and uncle cause my uncle is one cool homber. We're just riding along, early-ish in the day. Summer sun shining bright. I believe we were trailing close behind my parents for the duration of the drive. Everything's normal. We're nearing the ferry checkpoint, just one last town we gotta drive through. I remember the town looking almost stereotypical, like a piece of preserved Americana. An antique of a town. Been over a decade now, so the imagery is spotty, but I distinctly remember a blue frilly decoration tied up near the entrance of the town. Cars line both sides of what could be considered Main Street. Cafes, various random businesses. Nice houses every so often. The first weird thing I noticed was one such cafe. Catch a glimpse through the window of people. Except they weren't moving. Weird. Then a lady walking her dog, both completely frozen like mannequins. Next, a man working on his truck with a hose in one of his hands. Completely frozen except for the hose, which was still running water. Eventually we reach the checkpoint. The day resumes as normal. For the entire duration of the ride and the rest of the day after. Nobody mentioned anything about the town we just rode through, even as I was witnessing it. I felt a strange sense and didn't attempt to speak, to ask if anybody else was seeing this and what was happening. Oddly, didn't think about it much after. If I did, I chalked it up to a dream or imagination, since nobody mentioned it to me at the time or after. Many years later, hanging out with my uncle like usual. He's dicking around on the computer. Out of nowhere he asks me,
"Hey Josh, do you remember the Mannequin Town?"
Shit bricks and feel like a weight has been lifted off me. We start discussing it with each other. One of us will bring up some random detail that was buried in our minds and it instantly clicks. Like, oh shit, I do remember that, how could I have forgotten? We both recount that strange sensation of not wanting to talk about it as it was happening, and how weird it was that we just sat there and witnessed it like it was normal. It was pretty clear he was pretty happy to finally talk about it, just like I was. Just to know we're not crazy. Now every couple years one of us will bring it up again. Like,
"You still remember Mannequin Town? That was wild."
I think to make sure it really did happen. So yeah, weird dealio. Dunno if we drove through some pocket dimension or if we had a simultaneous impromptu acid trip. Either way, that's really the only super strange thing I've ever experienced in my life. Did some cursory digging over the years and never found any explanation or even similar stories about Mannequin Town.
Hello from Fit. Never been on this board, so I'll post a story from my childhood that traumatized me to the bone. Be me like 3 or 4. On summer vacation on the west coast of Sweden. Grandparents on mom's side used to live there. Very pleasant, since Stockholm can get boring sometimes. We stay at grandma's seaside apartment. She has this mannequin that she dresses up in the dining room. Think nothing of it because I'm 4 years old. Grandma has a giant crib that I can sleep in. Puts it in the dining room, on the opposite wall from the mannequin. Still think nothing of it because 4 years old. Bedtime. WEBM. Suffer from insomnia as child because of ADHD. Trying to sleep but something is making noise. Scan my surroundings. It's the fucking mannequin. Holy fuck. RER. It's shuffling towards me. If I had to describe how it walked, I would say that it was rocking back and forth really stuttery, while making a noise like those ASMR videos where they tap really quickly. It was fucking terrifying. Shit bricks. Panic and pull the covers over my head. It stops. What? I try to get a glance of it from underneath the covers. It starts shuffling again. Quickly pull the covers over my head again. It stops again. Glance. It moves. Retreat under covers. Stops. Once I learn the importance of keeping my head under the covers, I stop trying to look at it. I am frozen in fear. Eventually fall asleep from exhaustion from trying to keep as still as possible. Ever since that, I refused to sleep in that room up until I was 12. I'll post the second story about it if anyone is curious. 1 year ago. Be packing a bunch of shit for Grandma since she's moving to Stockholm to be closer to us. She opens up a door which to a second bathroom that she used for storage. I had never seen this room before. The mannequin is in the fucking room. I thought she got rid of it because I never saw it again after that summer vacation. I stand there eyeing it up and down, checking so it doesn't pull any tricks. Close the door and never look in there ever again. Last week my grandma told me she took it with her to Stockholm and that I can have it if I want it. What should I do with it? X. Burn it.
So my husband and I were at Target a few years ago. Just grocery shopping, no big deal. Eventually we ran across this dude. We couldn't see his face, but he was wearing a jacket. And it was summer in southern Ohio, so it was kind of odd to wear a jacket. He was wearing sunglasses from what we could tell, but we kept seeing him in glimpses. Like we'd come across him. He didn't have anything in his hands. He didn't have a shopping cart. He seemed to be by himself. He looked kind of waxy. Almost like a mannequin. Every time we tried to get a good look at him, he eluded us. At one point I was on my own and saw him go into an aisle of a few aisles up. So I decided to chase him down and see if I can see his face to get this idea out of my head that he isn't abnormal. I went down his aisle and he wasn't there. So I went up the aisle really quickly and came out the other side, and he was already across the whole damn store. Like he was all the way at the end of the damn store. I don't run that slow. He would have had to have been the fastest man alive. Like he was there one moment and then immediately a long distance away the next. My husband had the same issue in an encounter with him later on in the store. What the hell did we see? He was way too fast. He didn't have normal looking skin. Like he looked off. Like, from glimpses we got of him, he looked normal. But he was off. Something wasn't right. After we tried to chase him down a few times and failed each time, he was gone. Never once did he go through checkout. Never once did he have anything in his hands. He just up and disappeared. We haven't seen him since. We call him Plastic Man because of his waxy-looking skin.
Go hunting with friends deep in Norwoods in the great state of Maine. After a long day of finding not finding shit, return to camp around dusk. As we start to eat, my friend decides to take a piss. He comes back while I'm eating my hot dog and drops a dirty as female mannequin head on my lap. He says,
"Hey, Anon, want some head?"
I freak out and punt the thing across the camp. He says he found the rest of it near the tree he pissed on. All that remains is the torso and one arm. Piss friend says that he's dragging it back to camp. Both me and other friend have WTF faces on, but Piss friend usually is a little weirdo. Sits her torso on a stump near the campfire and puts the remaining arm around himself. Eventually campfire begins to die down and we turn in. Wake up to what the fuck's from Piss friend. His ivory princess is burned to a crisp on the fire. Both friends tell me to learn to take a joke and don't believe when I said I didn't do it. Go out hunting after that. Find multiple deer tracks that lead to clearing. Peer into clearing and see dead 2 deer opposite of each other. None of them have wounds. Weirded out, but continue hunting after that. No luck finding living deer and head back. Gather around a campfire cooking hot dogs when I see something out of the corner of my eye. A body of a mannequin wearing a ratty tux is slumped over a fallen log deeper in the woods. Call friends over and check it out. Weird, we didn't notice before. Piss friend says I must be a mannequin magnet. Another night comes and hear rustling, notices just thinking it's random forest animals. Awake in the morning to a scream. His friend and other friend are outside. We're surrounded by a loose circle of mannequins, all broken in some way. Middle one is the tux one from before. It has a rotten deer head over his own. Hanging around its neck is a cardboard sign that says better luck next time. Pack camping shit like lighting and pile into car. Turn on road at 40 miles an hour. We take the next corner and there is literally hundreds of mannequins blocking the road. This friend plows through them, body parts everywhere. We finally make it back to highway. To this day I wonder if someone was just fucking with us or something way worse.
there was a really fucked up urban legend around my hometown Chesapeake, Virginia when I was growing up. It went something like, one day, a military plane flew over the woods and dropped something big out as they went by. Some stories say it was a UFO. Over the next few weeks people say they start seeing a really pale white horse galloping around, but they never see the full thing, just its back legs and glimpses of it as it runs away. Eventually some teenagers go out into the woods to find it, but eventually they give up and just start drinking the beers they took with them. One teen needs to take a piss, so he walks off a little. As he's out there we notice a white shape peeking at him from behind a tree in the distance. It's a mannequin's head. He freaks out a bit but starts thinking it's just his friends fucking with him. He calls out to them, but then he hears them answer from behind him back where they were drinking. The mannequin head slowly moves from behind the tree and foliage, and the teen sees that the mannequin head is attached to a horse's body. It's not a mannequin's head, it's a human head with all the features covered over with skin, so it looks like a mannequin head. The head is connected to a huge, pale horse. Some stories said it was see-through and he could make out its organs and stuff, others just say it was white and veiny with a huge belly like it was pregnant. Teen runs home with friends close behind him, and needless to say we never fucked around deep in those woods.
A few years ago, I drove some people I used to know to get together. I looked up the address and it was just a straight shot to the party. I just had to get onto one road and I would be there in 30 minutes. The party wasn't anything too big, more like a hangout with no alcohol or drugs. Anyway, when it was over, we all got into the car and I got back onto the road. I ended up on the part of the road where it continued past the address and towards the ocean, but I didn't know it at the time. I didn't recognize the surroundings, but I drove on. The road ended at a condo complex on the beach. Okay, I fucked up. So, I'm making a U-turn to get out of the complex when I noticed a mannequin on the dive board of the pool. That's weird. I'm driving out of the complex, which was well lit for 2 in the morning, and I noticed more mannequins in between houses and the parked cars. Then when I got to the exit, which was where I entered, the open field near it was filled with mannequins. I didn't notice them when I came in if they were there the whole time. I drove away quickly and got back on the right route home. From what I could gather, the mannequins were always there for some reason. Someone was playing a prank on someone else and I got in the crossfire, or the mannequins rose up from the ocean to attack the condo complex and nearby Jack in the Box. If I had to guess, I would say there were about 20 mannequins there. Maybe more.
Be 6 to 7 years ago. First job at grocery store. Around the end of my first month working there. Graveyard shift, stocking shelves in the middle of the night. Like job, don't have to interact with too many people though it can get spoopy. Huge native guy named Stan is only coworker around. Heading to cereal aisle. Listening to iPod on shuffle. Bob by Primus just ended. Suddenly around a dozen fucking oatmeal boxes topple off the shelf. Weirded out, but I put them back in place. Nothing too unusual. Finish stocking aisle. Go back to Stan. He's taking out shit from the loading truck. Tell him oatmeal boxes flew all over the place. He says the same thing happens to him every once in a while. Last time was a few weeks ago. Kinda noping now. Gotta keep working though. Soda aisle this time. Entering aisle from the backside, but then stop dead in my fucking tracks. See a black female figure at the other end of the aisle near the store entrance. Not really a shadow person, just a fucking black solid figure, sort of like a Black Mannequin or the aliens from Under the Skin. Feel a really strange, dark, negative presence emanating from it. It's just standing there, not moving a muscle. Am fucking frozen too. Shitting bricks, to be honest. It abruptly moves its fucking leg in an awkward, overly affected way and disappears to the next aisle. Nope. Run the fuck back to Stan and tell him someone is in the store. Get back to soda aisle. Nothing there. Check other aisles. Nothing. Literally sweating at this point. Tell Stan exactly what I saw. He tells me how a working girl was found with her throat slashed in the parking lot around 6 years ago. Stan's been working at the store for a decade. Says something changed that night and the store has never felt right since. Next day request to have schedule changed. Still felt uneasy for months.
B9. In Honduras with my family. Go to local river with cousins to fuck around. Find some cool stones with white lines all over them. Put a bunch in the best to take home. One of the locals says they're spirit rocks or something. Whatever. Go home and try to poke a hole in them with a knife to make a necklace. I was 9 and dumb. Fail, so put a box of rocks under the bed. Go to sleep but wake up at some point in the night. I couldn't see anything until my eyes adjusted. See what looks like a person but with stick-like arms and legs at the door. I think it's a mannequin or something my mom had in the room. A shared room with parents. Ignore it and try to sleep. Look up after like 5 minutes with my eyes closed and it's halfway across the room. I tried to convince myself it's a mannequin of some sort, but there was no way. Looks completely black, still with pick-like form but more body-like. It's hard to explain. Looked like it had a hood covering its whole head. Seriously fucking scared by now and just stare at it from bed. Doesn't move, but I can feel it staring back. I don't want to scream cause I felt like it would attack me. My parents' bed is next to mine, so I tried waking them up but they were fast asleep. Take one last look and it looked like it was closer this time, so I slowly crawled into their bed. Pull covers over and eventually fall asleep. Woke up the next morning and the box was gone. My parents told me it was a dream. No way it was a dream. I remember the whole day perfectly, especially trying to make a hole in those things. Fuck Honduras.
The story of Pascualita, the mannequin. La Pascualita, or Little Pascuala, is a bridal mannequin that has lived in a store window in Chihuahua, Mexico for the past 75 years. That is quite a long time for a bridal gown shop to retain a mannequin. But then the dummy has a rather strange history behind it. According to an urban legend, La Pascualita isn't a dummy at all, but the perfectly preserved corpse of the previous owner's daughter. La Pascualita was first installed in the store window on March 25, 1930, dressed in a spring seasonal bridal gown. The effect was instantaneous. People simply could not tear their sight away from this new mannequin. With the wide-set glass eyes, real hair, and blushing skin tone. Soon, they realized that the mannequin closely resembled the shop's owner at the time, Pascuala Esparza. It didn't take long for them to come to the conclusion that the dummy was in fact the embalmed body of her daughter, who had died recently on her wedding day after being bitten by a black widow spider. The daughter's name has been lost over time, and La Pascualita stuck through the years.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel, as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check out the Odyssey page in the description for a second archive of the channel's videos.